3, 2, 1.
As you can see, I have to do things a little bit differently. So I would like everyone to pretend that they are in a large room full of people. Okay. So at the beginning of my presentation, I would like everyone to take out their cell phones and hold it above your head. Now, make sure you keep it up so everyone around you can see, and take note of the number of cell phones you actually see. Or more importantly, the number of people, the ratio of people with cell phones to the ratio of people without them. My name is Roy Richards, and I would like to talk to you about the dangers of electronic waste. Now, before we get too far into this, I would like to define what exactly electronic waste is. Electronic waste, or e-waste, is any electronic component or product that is being discarded. This could include computers, televisions, or cell phones. Now, for the next slide, I'm focusing on cell phones because of how relevant I believe they are. According to the American Chemical Society, one cell phone can contain up to 84% of the known stable elements. This can include antimony, arsenic, barium, beryllium, cadmium, chromium, lead, and mercury. Now, all of these elements are stable, but they're also toxic. These toxins, along with dioxins, BFRs, phthalates, and PVCs, are all considered e-toxins by the World Health Organization. These e-toxins can cause anything from nosebleeds to neurological damage to cancer, which several of those can lead to death. Now, typically these e-toxins are trapped underground, but through ore extraction and refinement, they make their way into our electronics on the production line. After being produced, electronics make their way to the consumer, the users. And if they're anything like me, they quickly make their way into the trash because you dropped it and broke it, which leads to disposal. Now, disposal has several paths you can follow. The first, and absolute worst, is sending your electronics straight to a landfill. If you send your electronics to a landfill, all of those deadly e-toxins are open to the elements. They can make their way into the air, water, and ground, and through these, our food. But there's a better choice, recycling. And as you can see, recycling has several paths to follow as well. First world recycling, or recycling in a developed country, typically follows two paths. The first is complete destruction. Through this process, electronics are ground up into smaller pieces, sorted, and then sold as raw material. But they can also be sold. Now again, this might not sound like recycling, but it is. A first world country can sell their electronics to a third world country, claiming that they are used and not useless. But as you see, selling takes up a much larger portion of this slide, and that is because only 12.5% of electronics are properly recycled. The rest is sold to third world country, which leads to third world recycling. Any electronics bought or generated in third world countries typically follow this one path. They're disassembled, and all working pieces are sold or reused. Everything else is burned. This might not sound like recycling, but technically is, because once everything is burned away, the metals are reused as raw material. But through burning, all of those e-toxins that can kill you, they make their way into the air as particulates. Now, particulates can travel extremely far. They can travel from one continent to another. That means almost no matter where these are being burnt in the world, it can still affect you or your loved ones. Now, this might sound bad. That's because it is. But there's several solutions. The first solution I found was cell phones for soldiers. If consumers have any mobile devices that are still in working order, they can donate them to Cell Phones for Soldiers and allow soldiers stationed anywhere around the world to have cell phones to contact their family and possibly listen to music. Another solution I found was Compreneur, but I heard about Compreneur a couple months before even starting this project. I heard about Capstone when I was looking for a new computer. I got a $40 computer with all the necessary peripherals. That means I got the tower, the monitor, the keyboard, and the mouse, all for $40. That price seemed extremely low to me. So I looked into Capstone even more and eventually ended up volunteering there. After spending a couple of hours disassembling and sorting electronics, I got to talk to Lynn Hausman, and she told me about Capstone's zero landfill policy, which means all donations are properly reused or recycled. But, as I said before, only 12.5% of electronics are properly recycled. The rest is sold. And I was wondering if there were any solutions to that problem. And I found take-back programs and take-back laws. A take-back program is started by a company or distributor that sells electronics. These programs allow consumers to properly and safely dispose of the electronics that they no longer want. This is legally required by the state for companies to avoid paying a recycling fine. Now, these laws, as I said before, are required by the state, not the federal government, which means they're only state laws. And I was surprised to find that only about 50% of the United States actually have these laws. And I was even more surprised to find out that these laws were very specific. They would cover your computer, but not your peripherals, which means you would have to bring back your tower, but you are forced to find a different way to dispose of your monitor, your keyboard, and your mouse. Or they would make companies take back the cathode ray tubes, which is the glass part of big box TVs, but you have to dispose of the plastic and the circuits, which didn't make sense to me. So I thought maybe a federal law would make more sense. And I was surprised to find out that there is a potential law, but it's been stuck between the House and the Senate for several years now. And so for a possible solution that I found was we could make all of this common knowledge, and then the public could decide whether or not they wanted to help force this law into place or find some way around it if someone didn't want to help save the world and everyone they love. But I know that this isn't a very likely scenario, so I thought of another solution, one focused on our school. We could try to partner up with Capstone and allow families to bring all of their unwanted electronics to the school, and once we have a sizable amount, we can donate it to Capstone, which leads to better, safer, more environmental recycling of all these electronics. Now, I don't know how much you've been listening or paying attention, or how many of these you've had to deal with already, but if there's anything I would really like you to remember, it's the health effects. These e-toxins that are trapped inside almost all electronics can kill you, or more importantly, they can kill the people you love. They can cause your brain to work differently, they can give you cancer, and they can kill you. Can't emphasize that enough. I have family, specifically my baby brothers. Don't want them dead. So, please, think about how you can properly dispose of your electronics and keep these e-toxins out of the environment and out of the people you care about. Or, if you really care, out of yourself. For self-preservation and other things of that nature. My name is Roy Richards. Thank you for listening.
Did you do it better this time, you think?
Yes. There are still other parts of that.